There's often a straw man argument against socialism that its end goal is a utopia of wealthy people, which isn't the case. Orwell imagines everyone being satisfied with enough money and materials, just sufficient, combating the popular retort of, well, man is greedy, with the argument he's only greedy because material possessions and money are seen as so valuable in our society. If generations had been satisfied with just sufficient income, then like the air we breathe, we wouldn't think about it. It would just be something that is there, a process that happens. Unfortunately, it will take quite a few generations to eradicate material fetishism, which has pervaded society. But he did see right before his lifetime that there was a new generation emerging where class distinctions were being made nebulous by consumerism. Another instance of the man being very aware and prescient. Another instance in which Orwell highlights the problem which is still prominent today is the littering of the English language with out-of-date metaphors and euphemisms which we no longer know the origin of and which cloud our meaning, some things which we fall back on like a crutch. Furthermore, he saw the difference in the English language between written and spoken was becoming a problem, as well as the difference between accents, causing some areas of England to be incomprehensible in speech compared to others. Also, he saw that the language of the BBC at this time was ridiculous, that sort of Queen's English accent, something which is extremely relevant today. There are some people in our school, and I won't name names, who contrive broad A's and other affectations of a southern accent, in the belief that it's the correct accent, a belief which is preposterous and symptomatic of a worrying return to snobbery and class antagonisms in my generation, with the chavs essentially being the blue-collar workers of 50 or 60 years ago. I guess snobbery and contempt always finds a way when one wants to reassure oneself. Furthermore, he saw how politicians use hazy euphemisms to cloud malign statements, especially as the working class, or what would now be the sort of lower middle class, have no interest in some of the more abstract words that are bandied about. He believed in the clear speaking. He believed in the clear speaking prose which we're still struggling to get from many politicians today in their quest for power. However, instead of doing anything about it, the public has decided that apathy is the best way out. This is essentially the pacifism of Orwell's time, the belief that doing nothing will lead to everything being alright in the end, a fallacy that is poisonous. Either choose a lesser evil or do something more. I guess there'll be no revolt from the proletariat like Marx predicted. But Orwell wasn't just a firm believer in his politics. He was also a believer in the beauty of the English countryside, weather, cuisine, and drinks. He believed that living in a country where every season has its own character and associations is better than some tropical climate, which is constant throughout the year. Now that's something I can't agree enough with, although the seasons are beginning to merge thanks to dear old climate change. Also, he was in staunch opposition to the belief that English food is terrible and tasteless, which as we all know is false. Bugger, I've got to answer the phone. Wait a second. Right, now, where was I? Whew. Well, we all know that English food isn't terrible and most certainly isn't tasteless. Oh God, no. He put it down to the fact that foreign visitors will only get snacks in a pub, and that most restaurants have foreign dishes. What the hell? Oh yeah. Wait a second. Dad?
Yeah. She hasn't got a phone now.
No, she hasn't.
Right, okay. I'll give Jade a ring.
Okay.
Alright.
Bye.
Bye.
Magic of the internet. Alright, let's get through this. He put it down to the fact that foreign visitors would only get snacks in a pub, and that most restaurants have foreign dishes, and if you want English cuisine, you have to visit a working class home. Another thing he believed in firmly was that there's no greater pleasure than being in nature, and with nature. And it is when one's with nature that one truly reflects on their insignificance, which is a truly human emotion, and only then does nature cause us to work and do things for ourselves and question ourselves and ask greater questions about ourselves. It's part of what makes our consciousness so special, and that by trying to dull our thoughts and return to the womb through these sort of pleasure cruises and, I guess, these sorts of duller aspects of popular cultural society and ways in which we might seek pleasure, that by trying to dull our thoughts and return to the womb through this stuff, to be inside the whale with artificial lights and tinned music, it only drives us nearer to the animals. The lights must never go out, the music must always play, lest we should see where we are, lost in a haunted wood, children afraid of the dark, who have never been happy or good. And I think that's extremely relevant today. Now, obviously, I've only just scraped the surface of what's in this collection, and in fact, I haven't even given a review rather than just a long list of why I admire George Orwell so much. In fact, I haven't even given a complete list of why I admire George Orwell so much. I've just given a few examples, really, albeit rather dull in its presentation. But represented in these pages is one of the greatest British political thinkers of the last century, who faced the looming questions and conflicts of his day with such brilliant clarity, and who wasn't afraid to be a contrarian, and who understood the need of liberty, solitude, and creativity, something which today's schools don't understand. I must admit that I loved every page of this, and built up such an admiration for him as the bookmark moved right, that I was mournful when he made references to being alive in 1956, as he would die at the untimely age of 46 in 1950. In 1949, of course, in his final year, there was little published, but there was an unfinished essay about Evelyn Waugh. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It was a brilliant essay, but after 4 or so pages, it abruptly ended mid-sentence with, "The manuscript stops here." It was the penultimate essay, but I feel it would have been an extremely fitting final entry.